Hi, I'm Marisa Inda. Thank you for subscribing to the Juggernaut YouTube channel, and check out our new apparel by clicking the link in the bio.
How should I train when coming off of a layoff?
When you're starting to train again after a long layoff, there's a couple different things to consider. First, you need to consider how long the layoff was. Are we talking about missing a week or two because of illness, travel, work stress, whatever it may be? Or are we talking about missing, multiple months of training? That's going to be a big determining factor in the length of kind of a reacclimation phase that you bring in. It could be just 1 week of something that looks like between deload and regular training to get you back into shape if it was a short layoff, or it could take several weeks of increasing volume from week to week or decreasing rest intervals to get your general and special work capacity back in order.
What should I do if I misjudge my rate of perceived exertion?
If you're using an RPE-based program and you get through a set and realize it was way too easy, let's say you're supposed to be doing an RPE 9 and you finish the set and you honestly genuinely feel like it was maybe a 7, that's something of course you want to avoid, because we don't want to get into doing multiple top sets, particularly if they're higher rep sets. Like if you were doing if you're supposed to be doing a 10 RM at 9 RPE, you go through all 10 reps and you then call it a 7 at the end, because that's going to reduce your performance if you do another set. So as you become more experienced, more in tune with the way the weights feel and how your body's feeling, you want to try and cut that early set off. So maybe you get 2, 3, 4 reps into it and realize I'm going to smoke this for 10 and it's going to feel like a 6 or 7 RPE. Well, just go ahead and stop the set then, call it a warm-up, add weight, and then go for the true 10 RM at 9 or 10 RPE, whatever is prescribed to you.
Is block periodization appropriate for strongman training?
The block periodization for strongman training could be appropriate, even ideal, but there's a lot of questions that you have to ask yourself before you decide what is going to be best. Because in strongman, there's so many more variables. Strength, endurance, speed qualities all need to be developed, where powerlifting is very straightforward. It's only maximal strength quality that matters. So if you have a strongman athlete who is strong enough but doesn't have sufficient endurance or speed, training could be organized one way. If you have someone who's fast and explosive, great endurance, but doesn't have the necessary maximal strength qualities to move the implements, then you're going to shift the focus of the training again. So it's a kind of big question. Once you identify what the needs are, then you could appropriately construct a block training sequence to best prepare the athlete.
How should I progress and adjust my training weights when moving from one cycle to another?
What's the best way to select and then progress your weights to the next training cycle? Let's say in a hypertrophy mesocycle you do 405 for 10 in the deadlift. Let's call that a 10-pound PR from what you've done previously. Well, if you're going into another hypertrophy cycle, if it's another wave of 10s, or let's say a wave of 8s, and you want to take that 405 for 10 and put it into rep max calculator. Let's call it 405 times 10 times 0.033 plus 405, and that's going to give you a projected max. As you go to plan out your weights for your 8s weight, for your next wave of 8s, you want to select weights that are going to finish with you getting a slightly higher projected max, maybe 5 pounds, 10 pounds, depending on how advanced you are with the sets of 8. So maybe that's going to mean 435 for 8 at the end of the 8s wave. But those small incremental improvements over time are really going to add up to big PRs in the long run.
How do I know if I have a good level of fatigue or if I'm in need of a deload?
There's definitely good fatigue, and fatigue is a necessary process to training. If you aren't inducing fatigue with the training that you're doing, you're not doing training that's hard enough to build up the requisite fitness you want to get stronger. So yes, fatigue is good, is necessary. Now, how do you tell if it's enough or too much? Basically, if you can do the prescribed training, there is not too much fatigue. If you're not able to do prescribed training or expected training, let's say before you've done 4 sets of 10 at 300 pounds and you go in and you're only able to do maybe 10, 8, 6, and 4 sets, or 4 reps in those sets, that would mean that you probably exceeded your maximum recoverable volume. That might mean it's appropriate time for a deload. It may mean that you're violating the principle of SRA and need to train a little bit less frequently between overloading sessions, but want to have more light technique sessions in between your overload sessions.
How long should I try out a technical change like switching from high bar to low bar before I decide if it's for me?
How long is long enough to try out a new technique? Whether you've been high bar squatting and you want to try out low bar, you've been conventional deadlifting and you want to try out sumo, whatever the change is, I would say give it a minimum of 6 weeks to test out that new technique. Even that's going to be on the short end. So say minimum of 6 weeks. And you're going to want to, of course, test it with some heavier sessions so you can actually compare, where's my 3 rep, where's my 5 rep, maybe even where's my 1 rep, compare, but also put in more frequent technical sessions for the new technique that you're trying to adjust to. That's going to be multiple, singles, doubles, triples, probably that 50 to 70% range with just great attention to detail in the technique. More frequent exposure to the technique is going to allow you to pick up that motor learning and the new movement patterns a bit quicker.
Hey guys, my name is Kristen Dunsmore. I compete as a 63 in the USAPL, and I did the online coaching with Juggernaut with Chad Wesley Smith. Chad did my coaching for about a year. I didn't really compete, so when he started working with me, I was injured, so we weren't really doing too much, but he kind of just worked around my injury until I was able to start lifting again. Within the past year, we really got into actual training, where I competed in the American Open in Orlando, and I hit 347 squat, a 204 bench, and a 419 deadlift. What I really appreciated about Chad was that he was really able to work around my injuries and get me back to where I was before and even better. So, thank you, Chad.